A hunter must hunt.
Damn it. Okay, yeah, sorry. All right. I just read off everybody's fucking names. Okay, I have to do it over again now. Yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot to turn the mic on. That was dumb. Okay. Black Lotus, Oato, Tiberius, Chiro, Gartani, Super Stank, Quick Stir.
What are you doing, step bro?
We're 15 seconds into the stream, and already I'm getting what are you doing, step bro. Ticker, Peak Poke, J Beers, Christy, Angel D, Embargo DC, Uber Newbie. No Nothing, Derek K, Feliz Masas Intomantico, and Cyber Samurai. Hopefully I hit everyone. T-Manster, welcome. Welcome, everyone. Good to have you here on this fine Newbie Tuesday. And we're doing something. We're going to start off with something a little bit different today. Well, we do this every once in a while, but today especially I feel is poignant to talk about it. 1 second. I'm just going to post a... Give me 1 second. We're going to start. I'm just going to post really quickly I'm going to post a Reddit post saying that I'm live. Oh, God. I wanted to stream at noon today. But I had a meeting, so I had to postpone to my normal time.
A hunter must hunt.
Gimme dem brain wrinkles. Brain wrinkles go burr burr r r r r burr b r r r r r b r b r b r b r r r.
One second.
A hunter must hunt.
There we go. Okay, I should have done that before the stream, but I forgot. So that is what happens. My goodness, we have so much generosity in chat already today. Super Stank with the 6 months of Prime. Black Lotus with the 9 months of Prime. The nice little Prime baby that we're about ready to pop out. Splendid. A baked cheese snack bringing us 5 more cult initiates already. Oh my goodness, so kind. Kurlant, Mitch Biocannon, Blue Skybee, Chris Nova, New York 167. Welcome to the All House Red Team.
Heart, the best hacking stream on the Twitch. Glowing star, not born day.
That's so kind of you to say, Chiro Gartani. Thank you so much. I'm so glad. What are we naming our baby? Our happy little Twitch, our happy Twitch baby. What are we naming it? Michael. Thank you for the follow. Poncho MTL, thank you for the follow. Jiffaram, thanks for the 69 nice Tegel biddies. Well, thank you so much. Peak Poke, bringing us 5 new cult initiates as well. Utku 1337, Ira Sakai, Ronin Sek, Rodris Stream, and Nokia Hanks. Welcome to the All Has Red Team. You've been indoctrinated by Peak Poke. Welcome. Cybertech Vibes, welcome in. And thanks for cluing me in before I clicked on that verify link. I checked the link. It looked legitimate. There must have been some kind of phishing angle to it. But yeah, just no. It's all right. You don't feel stupid, Cybertech Vibes. Don't feel stupid. It's not a question of feeling stupid. People fall for stuff like that all the time. I mean, I almost clicked on it. I almost clicked on it without even asking you. So you almost got me too. Or they almost got me too. How does one avoid getting locked out from Kali using VirtualBox? After Windows updates, no credentials work anymore, and this is really frustrating. After Windows updates, no credentials work. How did you change your... How did a Windows update change the password to your Kali Linux machine? I think you just forgot the password, my dude. I think you just forgot the password. Yeah, you change your password and implement two-factor authentication. You're good, Cybertech vibes. Yeah, the old Kali. Kali makes you set a password on installation these days, though. So, Anthony J.A. with the 9 months. God, we're having so many Twitch babies today. Thank you so much, Anthony J.A. So, what are we doing today? Well, we're going to start off a little bit different. I'm going to tell a real-life red... it's not really a red teaming story, but the tactics I used were very similar. So, it's the only difference is I wasn't really making an attempt to be stealthy. But we're going to be talking in depth about a recent penetration test. All the tactics I used, all the things that I tried. We're going to be the things that worked, the things that didn't work. We're going to gather around the campfire, and we're going to talk about how Al rooted a domain last night. Okay? Because Al got domain admin last night, and then had a really nice cigarette after thoroughly fucking that domain. Pretty happy on that. Creds just stopped working on Kali after Windows up. I've never had that happen. Just a guy. At the end of the day, you might just have to rebuild Kali if you can't find a solution from other people on the internet. My goodness. Are we ready to gather around the campfire? Obviously, I can't give you any details about this company that I pen tested. I can't. In the relevant... I will redact all the specifics, but we're going to talk about what things are typical on an internal penetration test. Now, this was not... Let's talk about what this was not first. Okay? Let's talk about what this was not. This was not a red team assessment. I know what you're asking. What's the difference? The difference is, in this, for all practical purposes, this time... Mostly, I was not being stealthy. I was not being stealthy, and I was afforded a virtual machine in the target environment with which to operate from. So, typically with a red team assessment, you will either one or the two. You will either have to gain access to a target environment through phishing or vishing or some other means. You'll have to somehow gain a foothold on the environment first, and then use that foothold to pivot to the rest. You know, like an adversary would have to do. Okay? For an internal penetration test, the goals are different, and so it's set up differently. The goal of a red team assessment is to test the effectiveness of the security solutions that are in place at detecting real-world threats. Real-world adversaries who have gained access to your environment and are pivoting around. That is the goal of a red team assessment. Detection. It's detection and to train the blue team. Okay? There is no red team, really, without a blue team. Okay? So, because the red team's goal is basically to train the blue team and improve their processes. Now, an internal penetration test, how do those goals differ? The goals of an internal penetration test are to find as many vulnerabilities as possible in the target environment. All vulnerabilities on internal web apps, an Active Directory, patching issues, password issues, all issues that exist within the domain. Within the domain, the internal penetration tester is trying to find as many as possible. To this end, the internal penetration tester is not trying to act like an adversary. They are trying to exploit things, and they are trying to escalate their permissions, but only to demonstrate that it's possible. They're not necessarily trying to exfiltrate data from the domain. Typically, the red team will have a specific goal of trying to access specific data. Like one time, I red teamed Moderna TX, which you probably know from COVID vaccine fame. Before they distributed the COVID vaccines, and the goal of that red team assessment was to gain access to the vaccine data. The Moderna was primarily interested in seeing if we could gain access to their proprietary vaccine data, which we did succeed in. Yes, we did gain access to Moderna's vaccine. And that was, we had to fully fish our way in and everything on that one. That was an intense assessment. But in this one, I sent the client this was an internal penetration test. So I sent the client a virtual machine image, which is just a stock Kali image that we have at our company. It's been modified from the basic Kali image for various reasons. And when it's spun up, it automatically connects back to a tunnel that it connects back and forges a tunnel with our infrastructure at my company, and allows me to connect to it securely and basically test them from the inside through SSH. Does that make sense? So I connect to the company spins up this VM that I send them in their own environment. The VM connects out to my company's infrastructure, and then I can connect to it through a secure encrypted channel and test it through SSH. So that's what I was doing here. I connected to a Kali Linux. For all intents and purposes, I was on a Kali Linux virtual machine set up inside of their environment with access to all of their internal systems. Well, not all of them, but I had access to the majority of their a variety of their internal subnets. I had a foothold in their internal subnets. Okay, so that's and again, the goal was not necessarily to get domain admin, although I am going to attempt to get domain admin, but the goal is to find as many vulnerabilities as possible. Just find as many things as possible. Were you given any creds? No. No credentials. I was only given the VM inside of their environment, and everything else was myself. Everything else was on my initiative. I'm just kind of turned loose. Very OSCP-like. This is very similar to the kind of situation you'll encounter on the OSCP exam. Okay, you're gonna have a Kali VM that's on an internal that's on a network of a bunch of hosts, and you just have to root those hosts. That's it. You're just kind of turned loose. This is why the OSCP exam is considered such a good example of is considered such a strong certification, because it does emulate real world situations that you do encounter as a penetration tester. So I was given no credentials, and I just had to go. So again, no onus. Does this count as assumed compromise or no, because no creds? I would say, again, it's kind of a misnomer to say this was assumed compromise. This was a penetration test. Assumed compromise would be kind of a red team thing. Assumed compromise would be if we do that in the red team side of things. An assumed compromise basically just skips the social engineering or phishing and basically just assumes correctly that adversaries will eventually gain access to their internal environment. So we basically send them a payload, and they're going to run it on a typical workstation, and we will use that workstation as if we fished our way into it to compromise the rest. That would be an assumed compromise. I would say that this internal penetration test was gray box, I would say. So you did the compromise in 24 hours. I've been working on them. I had about 2 weeks, a little bit less than 2 weeks in total. I have like a whole week left. Let's see. I started on Wednesday of last week, and it took me until Monday of this week to actually get domain admin. So I have a whole week. I had more than a week left. Was the IT department made aware as the pen test? Yes, they were aware. There was more than one penetration test going on at a time. I had colleagues that were working on the external infrastructure of this client, and I had other colleagues working on some of their apps. I was just the tester that was inside of the that was doing the internal portion. They put me on the internal portion because I actually wasn't supposed to be on this test at all. I'm a red teamer. Okay, I was filling in for a friend who does these internals. A friend of mine couldn't do the test for a reason I won't go into. So so I'm filling in for him. He asked me to fill in for him, and I agreed. So that this is not a normal test for me to be on. I don't have another red team assessment until next month, so my company's making use of me, which is fair. Did you use the new CVE? I did not use the new CVE. No, I didn't need it. I did not need it. 90% of the time, I don't need any CVEs. I'm a red teamer, dude. Red teamers don't use CVEs very often. I'm going to be honest with you, Killer. I'm very accustomed to not using CVEs. There's a CVE to gain domain admin. Oh, I'm sure there is. There's a new one that feels like every month. Performing automated tests was allowed or only manual? No, I had scans. I could do scans. Why? Because they're unreliable. CVEs, depending on the CVE, of course, tend to be more unreliable and more easily detected because they'll have signatures. Like, for example, take zero logon, for instance. Zero logon involves literally brute forcing the domain controller until you exploit a cryptographic flaw that allows you to basically authenticate to it with a password, a hash of all zeros. That's essentially how zero logon works. But it's super easy to detect because the same machine is making nonstop connections to the domain controller and then just killing them immediately. It's very easy to detect. Whereas gaining valid credentials and exploiting Active Directory the way it's intended to be used is much more difficult to detect. And we're going to talk about that because the client had a couple of misunderstandings about the nature of such tactics. So we're going to talk about that as we get into it. So I'm only setting the stage for you. I have no need to be stealthy. I had Nessus. I did launch Nessus. I ran Nessus, but it didn't find anything. It identified a lot of hosts for me and what ports were open on the hosts, but it didn't find any significant CVEs. No Eternal Blue, no Blue Keep, no MSO8067, old reliable, as we call it. None of those standard vulnerabilities were possible, based on my scans. Although, come to think of it, I do need to scan again now that I have domain admin creds. I can provide Nessus domain admin creds, and it'll do a more comprehensive scan. I'll do that tonight when I'm testing tonight. That'll bring the client a little bit more value. Nessus is more powerful if you provide it credentials, obviously, and I have domain admin credentials now. I've said it many times. I've said it many, many times. I didn't start with Nessus. Where do you guys think I started? I did launch Nessus on the first night, but I didn't start there. Where did I start? Responder. Nmap is too slow. It's not too slow. I did use Nmap. Okay, I do use Nmap. I'm not trying to say, but keep in mind, I'm Nmapping a network of thousands of hosts. This is a large conglomerate. I'm not going to name them. I'm not going to call them. We'll just call them Company X. Company X is a large conglomerate you may or may not know in the United States. A large conglomerate in some industry that I won't name. We'll call it, E Corp. There you go. We'll call it E Corp. Okay? It's not a financial institution, but calling it E Corp is fine. It's not a financial institution. It is a large conglomerate. And obviously, Nmap and Nessus are going to be useful for identifying services, and I did use them, but I didn't start there. I start with Responder. Why do I start with Responder, chat? Why do you think I start with Responder and not scans? On a real network, like you see me on this stream every time, starting with Nmap. But in a real assessment, credentials. I desperately need credentials. That first set of credentials is of absolutely paramount importance. That I cannot emphasize enough in an internal network, on an Active Directory environment, how important that first set of valid clear text credentials is. It is of absolutely paramount importance. Now, will Responder always get that? No. In fact, if Responder works, it's a finding. Responder exploits a feature in Windows called LLMNR NBTNS traffic. LLMNR NBTNS traffic is kind of a is how Windows is Windows's own in-house version of DNS. Early on in Windows's development, and it still exists as a legacy protocol. Early on, Windows Active Directory environments did not use DNS. They used LLMNR and BTNS traffic. I'll lay down an example of my own internal network right here. I'll give you some simple details. My internal network is just a router. I don't have anything special like anyone else does. I just have a consumer-grade router. And I have a bunch of, I've made some configuration changes to the router to establish a firewall and things like that, but I don't have any specialized equipment. I didn't spend any of that money. I didn't see it as necessary. But I have a variety of devices connected to it. One of them is the PC on which I'm talking to you right now. One of them is my work laptop, which is off to my left here. One of them is my other work laptop, which is behind me. My phones, my iPad, all of my devices, all connected to the same wireless router. And I have a shared folder on my Windows host that I'm talking to you on right now, that I use to share files between all of these things when it's necessary. When I access, if I'm on, like, for example, one of my work laptops and I want to access a shared folder on my host or on my PC, my custom PC, I don't refer to my custom PC by its IP address. I refer to it by its host name, which is Azathoth. Its host name is Azathoth, and so when I'm mounting a shared drive on my Windows laptop for whatever reason, I refer to this machine as Azathoth. How does that laptop know that Azathoth where Azathoth is, what it is? I don't have a DNS server in here. I don't have anything special. The answer is LLMNR and BTNS traffic. All of my Windows devices on the network are broadcasting their host names and IP addresses at all times, saying, "Hi, I'm Azathoth, and I'm located at 10.0.0.10. Okay? Or, "Hi, I'm Work Laptop 1. I'm at 10.0.0.11. And things like that. They're constantly talking. If you do Wireshark, you'll see this traffic on your network. Okay, that's how Windows devices resolve host names. Windows very much does not like IP addresses. It prefers host names. So that's how Windows deals with host names in the legacy protocol. In the more modern Windows, it will use DNS. In a more modern Windows Active Directory, DNS. Is it dangerous to use Responder for testing? No. Unless you use NTLM Relay X with it, which we'll go into. So, when you use Responder is capable of subverting the LLMNR and BTNS traffic. So, let's say I have Responder listening on my network on some device, and Azathoth reaches out and says, "Hey, I'm Azathoth, and I'm at 10.0.0.10. Responder is going to say, "Hey, actually, everyone listen up," talking much more loudly than Azathoth, and it's going to say, "Actually, that guy's wrong. I'm Azathoth, and I'm at 10.0.0.10. And Responder is going to spam that. Like, it's going to spam that, so all the other devices on the network will think that Responder is actually Azathoth. Okay? And it's going to do that for every host name it detects. So every time a new computer reaches out, different IP, no, it's a different IP address, yes. Responder is sitting on a different IP address, and it's going to redirect all traffic in the network through itself. And because of that, it can capture authentication requests, and it can drop, in its base operation, it will dump NTLM v2 hashes, which are not really password hashes. They are not passwords. They are a part of the NTLM challenge response mechanism. So let's do a quick paint stream, actually. Let's do a quick paint stream, because this is actually really important and core. So let's move that away. Let's start up paint. I've explained this before, but I'll explain it again now. Will responder rile up my ISP like Nmap did? I don't think so, no. The computer's name is WPAD? Yeah, dude. Well, I don't... We'll talk about WPAD here in a second. You can run responder with WPAD. So, basically... Okay, so here's... So we have computer A. We'll call this computer Twitch chat. Okay? And Twitch chat is trying to talk to Riley Reid, as they do. Okay? Twitch chat is trying to talk to Riley Reid. Okay? Let's do it this way. Okay, so the first thing that's going to happen is Twitch chat's going to reach out to Riley Reid and it's going to say, hi, hello. And then, but Riley Reid doesn't know how to, wants to authenticate Twitch chat. Okay? Riley Reid is scrutinizing, okay? Riley Reid wants to know that Twitch chat is who they say they are. So Riley Reid is going to send back a challenge. Basically, it's saying, okay, if you're really Twitch chat, hello, I'd like to talk Kappa. Okay? And then Riley Reid is going to respond, encrypt this data with your hash. So this is called a challenge. Windows, you might wonder, why does Twitch chat not just send their password to Riley Reid? And then Riley Reid can verify that it's the right password and grant Twitch chat access to her ports. You might ask why that's the case. The answer is because Windows hates sending passwords over the network. These passwords can be intercepted, and they can be intercepted and leveraged elsewhere. So Windows is trying to avoid that with a somewhat more convoluted system called NTLM authentication. That's what we're gonna call this. NTLM authentication. Like that. Okay? So Twitch chat says, hello, Riley Reid. And Riley Reid says, if you really are who you say you are, Twitch chat, here's some data. Encrypt that with your hash. Okay? Here's some data. Encrypt this with your password hash. And then Twitch chat will take the password hash and go, here's the encrypted data. And then Riley Reid, since Riley Reid also knows the password hash, the correct password hash, Riley Reid can verify that they can then decrypt the challenge and response and therefore infer that Twitch chat has the correct password. Does this make sense? This is the NTLM authentication process. This is not Kerberos. Kerberos is an entirely different thing. Okay? So, what are some issues with this, chat? Can we identify some issues? Again, this is Newbie Tuesday. I don't want to assume anything. What are some issues with this process? You can steal someone's response? Yes. Yes. So, this data, excellent point. Listen, okay? Let's do with issues. Let's do one of these. Issue 1. The challenge response, which is this part, is encrypted with the user's password hash. Why is that bad? It can be intercepted, yes, but what use is this encrypted data to an attacker? Yeah, you can crack it. You can crack it. You can accept the NTLM. The NTLM challenge response contains the data that it decrypts to. If we looked at if we looked at the, I don't have any NTLM v2 hashes on hand right now, but if you looked at the structure of one of the first parts of the NTLM v2 hash or the challenge and response is the data itself that is being encrypted. So you can simply try many password hashes to see which one decrypts to the data you're looking for. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So these if you can intercept this challenge response, it can be cracked. It's essentially a salted hash. No, it's not like a rainbow table. Rainbow tables won't work. Every NTLM v2 hash will be unique, even if it's for the same user and encrypted by the same password hash, because the data is randomly generated. The data it is encrypting is randomly generated. So every NTLM v2, I get this a lot. People ask about this, like, hey, I'm using Responder for the first time, and every hash I capture is different. I don't get it. But every NTLM v2 hash will be different. It's essentially a different salt. It's not really a salt, but that's a way you can think about it. Every NTLM hash, even those generated by the same password, will be different. You can use rainbow tables against regular NTLM. That's a different hash type. What's another issue, chat? So we've established that if you intercept this challenge and response, you can crack it. What's another issue with this authentication mechanism that you can see? Hey, Votraz, good to see you. You can impersonate Riley Reid. You can. You can. What if someone else is on this network and claims to be Riley Reid? What verification does Twitch chat have that they're actually talking to Riley Reid? Maybe they're getting catfished. But Twitch chat never gets catfished. They're giant wrinkly brains, right? What verification does Twitch chat have that it's actually talking to Riley Reid? Issue 2. No inbuilt verification that Riley Reid is the legitimate Riley. Now, Windows has since added ways to do that verification, and that's SMB signing. And we can talk about that a little bit. I don't want to confuse you. But with this simple thing here, again, it's not so much about knowing what to do on a network. It's about being a penetration tester is about being able to see vulnerabilities in systems. So I'm trying to get you to think about this carefully, chat. Okay? Think about where this might be vulnerable. How can you subvert this process? What is another way in which NTLM authentication is vulnerable? There is no auth to the DC? Well, in an Active Directory environment, the DC is involved in this process. Riley Reid doesn't know the password hash of Twitch chat, so she has to talk to the DC in order to verify Twitch chat. That just brings an additional layer of complexity that I'm not going into right now because this is Newbie Tuesday and I'm trying to be simple. We've already talked. We're gonna talk about NTLM relay here in a second. We'll add it as issue 3. Issue 3. Combining 1 and 2. Well, that's kind of issue 2. This is kind of issue 2. NTLM relay can be relayed. Okay? To legitimate Riley. And we're going to talk about that process here in a little bit. We're going to talk about how NTLM relay works here in just a second. What's another way The way the hash is encrypted? No. You're close though, FDSSec. Kind of think about that. Strength of the password? Yeah. Obviously, whether or not the password will be cracked depends on the strength of the password. Obviously. If you combine issue 1 and 2, is that a double penetration? I think legally it is. Able to brute force? Yeah, you could brute force it. Unless there's an account lockout in place, which many domains have. But try to think about just this process. Just this process. Think about what do you need to what does Twitch chat actually realistically need to authenticate to Riley Reid? To legitimately authenticate to Riley Reid. Killer. Excellent. Excellent. There is no actual verification that Twitch chat has the decrypted plain text password associated with their credentials. They just need the hash. Issue 3. Only the user's hash is required to authenticate to Riley Reid using this mechanism. So when Riley Reid says, hey, encrypt this data with your hash, and then Twitch chat will take its hash, and then here's their data encrypted. At no point is the clear text credential involved in that. What problem is that? Is there? Yeah, Kuxitazo said it. This is what arises. This is how pass the hash arises. This is why you can authenticate to Windows machines using just the NTLM password hash. Can you use this NTLM v2 hash? No, you cannot. This is not useful for pass the hash. However, at the NTLM hash, which is used to encrypt this data, you doesn't even need to be cracked. Exactly, Edgewalker. Exactly. It doesn't even need to be cracked. You can authenticate to other machines on the network using just the hash. Does that make sense? Why are you like this, Microsoft? In fairness, NTLM is an outdated protocol, okay? NTLM is an outdated legacy protocol that is nevertheless still in use. A more modern version is Kerberos, and Kerberos is much stronger. Kerberos has many, many improvements over this system. Kerberos has its own little quirks and weaknesses that you can exploit, but in this case, it is much more secure. I can't just turn on Responder and catch Kerberos tickets, for instance. Okay, Kerberos is much more cash money. Okay, so we can meme in the chat about why Microsoft is the way they are, but Kerberos is pretty good. As far as an authentication mechanism is concerned, Kerberos is about as good as they come. Because I can't turn on Responder and catch Kerberos tickets. It has its own weaknesses. Because of, authentication and Active Directory is complicated. And Kerberos has had to evolve to add new features, and new features mean a larger attack surface. Okay? Wait, Kerberos isn't Microsoft? It is. Kerberos is Microsoft invented. In issue 1, what is cracked? The encrypted data, the challenge response. The response to this is the challenge. This is the hello. This is the challenge. And this is the challenge response. This encrypted challenge response can be cracked. Kerberos is MIT? Is it really? I thought it was Microsoft this whole time. Okay, well, you taught me something. I've always thought it was associated with Microsoft. I always thought it was... Okay, so maybe MIT originally came up with the protocol, and Microsoft just co-opted it and added their own features. Okay, fair enough. I didn't know that. I thought it was just a Microsoft thing. Do you mean decrypted? No, I mean cracked. I mean, technically, that is what decrypting is. What do you think? If you don't have a key... reducing ciphertext to plain text is usually about cracking it. Initially developed by MIT for Project Athena in the late 80s, Kerberos is now the default authorization technology used by Microsoft Windows. Okay, again, fair enough. I didn't know that. I've just thought it was used by Microsoft. You taught me something, chat. I don't know everything. Okay? So these are the issues with NTLM. Now, NTLM will be by default in use in all networks that you're on. It is. I have seen one network in my entire history of penetration testing. I've seen a lot of domains of various levels of robustness. I have seen one that had completely disabled NTLM authentication domain-wide. Most domains will prefer Kerberos authentication, but if Kerberos fails, it still has NTLM authentication enabled as a backup. Does that make sense? So NTLM is pretty much always going to be present. I've seen it one time completely disabled. If it has all these vulnerabilities, chat, why wouldn't companies completely disable it? Why do you think? How long ago did you encounter that company? That was 2019. It's 2019. Yeah, backwards compatibility, legacy stuff. Because ultimately, making your network work is more important than security. Even as a security guy, I have to admit that. There is no security if your network just doesn't fucking work. There's no point to security if your network doesn't work in the first place. So, just make this smaller. Okay? So we're highlighting the only completely secure network is one that's switched off, chat. So your network has to work first, and then you worry about hardening it. Okay? So let's imagine. Let's do this. Let's erase all of this. I regret. Let's just open up a new paint instance. We'll do this again. Okay? So we're going to set up the same scenario. Twitch chat wants access to Riley Reed's ports. Okay? She has many interesting services exposed on through her ports. Okay?
What are you doing, step bro?
Listen, Twitch chat, are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here? I definitely want her ports. I don't blame you.
What are you doing, step bro?
We're not doing port forwarding, but we're just doing, since Twitch chat only speaks in terms of porn stars, this is how we're doing this, okay? So let's say, once again, same scenario. Twitch chat wants to talk to Riley Reed, okay? Wants access to her ports. But this time, there's a third party. Responder. Responder. Okay? Responder is a Python script that runs on a different machine. So this is essentially a Kali machine. It doesn't need to be Kali. Okay? Responder is just a Python script. But in this case, we'll say it's a Kali response. Okay? So now we have Responder on the network. What is Responder doing? Riley Reed is broadcasting to everyone on the network. Hi, I'm Riley Reed. I'm Riley Reed, and I'm located at this IP address.
Please check your Discord again when you are done with whatever you are currently doing.
Who is sending me what? Oh, that's so kind of you. Yeah, That's so kind of you. Oreo Bite has provided us some Try Hack Me vouchers. Oreo Bite, how did OSCP go? Do not keep us in suspense. I forbid you. How did OSCP go? You owned it, right? You owned it. Epic fail, Keck W. It happens, my dude. It happens. It happens. Don't feel down on yourself, Oreo Bite. Listen. It happens. It happens, okay? Listen. I can't emphasize enough how difficult OSCP is, okay? OSCP is a very difficult certification. It's harder than some college courses because you have to teach yourself, okay? So don't feel bad. You're gonna get it. Thank you so much for those vouchers. I'll definitely give away. We're gonna give away 2 Try Hack Me vouchers today. 2 Try Hack Me vouchers today. Yeah, Mr. Robot. He failed OSCP twice. Reach out to me, Oreo Bite. We're gonna talk about. We'll do an after action report. Okay. Reach out to me. Tell me what went wrong. I can't respond while I'm on stream. Obviously, I don't want to give up exam information on the stream. But let's talk. Get with me. Let's talk. And we'll figure out what your way ahead is, okay? We'll figure out what your way ahead is for the future, okay? Just get in. Let's talk. Let's talk. I'll get you through it. I promise you we can get you through this. Thank you so much. All right. So, as I said, Riley Reid is broadcasting to the whole network at all times that she is Riley Reid and she is located at this IP, okay? Let's do it this way. Let's do... Riley Reid is broadcasting. Okay? Responder hears this and goes, actually... let's do responders in red. Actually, I'm Riley Reid. And Twitch chat is also talking, by the way. Twitch chat is also talking and saying, hi, I'm Twitch chat. And responder is going, oh, actually, I'm Twitch chat. Does that make sense? Is everyone following me on how responder is behaving on the network? The specifics of how responder is doing this have to do with LLM&R and BTNS traffic. It's not relevant to the high-level discussion we're having right here. Responder is pretending to be both Twitch chat and Riley. What benefit does this have, chat? Go back to our noted vulnerabilities. What benefit does this have? Man in the middle. Yes. This issue 2. No inbuilt verification that Riley Reid is the legitimate Riley. Okay? So therefore, responder can impersonate Riley. And therefore, when Twitch chat wants to talk to Riley Reid, they might be like, oh, last I heard, Riley was at this IP address. So let me just reach out there. Hi, Riley. Please let me access your ports. Okay. So now what does responder do? Well, it depends. Responder won't do what responder will do is it will reply with a challenge and response. And then, or with a challenge, and then Twitch chat will send back a challenge and response. A challenge response. And then responder will dump that challenge response to allow the attacker to crack it. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, chat? This is the basic response of responder. The basic takes the initial request and forwards it. It does. It does. You're right. I did draw this wrong. Let's do this the correct way. So responder, so that it doesn't disrupt network authentication, responder will now reach out to Riley Reid saying, Hi, Riley, please let me access your ports. Riley Reid responds with the challenge. Responder sends the challenge response here. And then the challenger response gets sent back through responder. This allows responder to capture this crucial part of the exchange so that it can be cracked. Does that make sense, chat? In this way, communication over the network is not disrupted. As in, Twitch chat can still authenticate to Riley Reid. It's just going through an intermediary without knowing it, and the intermediary is leaking their hashed credentials. Does that make sense? Is everyone following me so far? Okay? So, let's add another layer of complexity. We now have a fourth machine. Okay? We have a fourth machine. How do I want to do this? Let's just, for the sake of this, we'll move the chat up there so you're out of the way. And we'll call this machine... Is there any porn stars with the initials DC? It doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Ignore it. Ignore it. DCs usually aren't relayable. But we'll just call this one Elsa Jean. It'd just be kind of funny if there was a porn star with the DC. I'm sure there is one, but I'm not going to look it up right now. Okay, so let's say there's another box. Elsa Jean. Okay, let me go check for you. Yeah, I'm sure you'll do some research. Turco's going to do some research and get back to us. So let's say there's Elsa Jean, and the attacker on Callie right here really wants access to Elsa Jean. Okay? We really want to get into Elsa Jean's ports, okay? We're not as interested in Riley Reid's ports, okay? We are interested in Elsa Jean. You could relay to Riley Reid too, but I'm just demonstrating that this can happen. You can do this with a completely different box. So let's say Twitch chat for some reason has the ability to authenticate to Elsa Jean and get code execution on her. Okay, we all want code execution on Elsa Jean, okay? And let's say for some reason, through some egregious misconfiguration of this Active Directory environment, Twitch chat is given access to Elsa Jean. Okay? We don't want access to Riley Reid. We don't care about that. We want access to Elsa Jean. So here's what happens. Twitch chat reaches out to responder, trying to reach out to Riley Reid. Okay? Twitch chat's down bad. Okay? All right? Twitch chat needs to get some access to Riley Reid's stat. Riley, please. And again, the only reason they're talking to responder... The only reason they're talking to responder is because responder is faking being Riley. It is spoofing LLM&R and MBTNS traffic to make it seem like it is Riley. Okay? That's why Twitch chat is talking to responder and not Riley. Oh, directly. And let's say that in addition to responder, we have another friend. What friend do you think we also have on this Kali chat? What other friend do you think we also have running on this Kali? How does responder take priority? Being much louder. Sending a lot more LLM&R traffic than others. Sick in the mind is correct. NTLM relay x.py. NTLM relay x.py is a tool in the Impacket library. It is in the Impacket library, and yeah, people in chat have mentioned Inve. I don't like Inve nearly as much. Not because it's bad, but because it has to run on Windows, which cannot use the 445, so it can't do a relay unless you I don't think you can do a relay with Inve, which makes it's basically a responder that can run on a Windows machine. It's responder that runs through PowerShell and C#, but it's not useful for relaying. Does responder trip alarm bells? Sometimes it is. Sometimes it does. I don't use it on red teams. I definitely do not use it on red teams. It will trip some network monitoring software for sure. So we have another tool. We have two tools running at once on this Kali machine. We have responder, which is redirecting all authentication requests through this machine. And we have NTLM Relay X, which is what's going to actually handle the request from here. NTLM Relay is going to capture this request and be like, Elsa, please. So though this authentication was intended for Riley, it is now going to Elsa Jean. Elsa Jean thinks this is a normal authentication request. There's nothing abnormal about this to Elsa Jean whatsoever. This box is trying to authenticate to her. She sends the challenge response. She sends the challenge. Responder then forwards the challenge this way. Or NTLM Relay is in control at this point.
A hunter must hunt.
Challenge. Let's do Elsa challenge. Elsa challenge. Twitch chat responds. Challenge response. And then relay. Challenge response. And so now, if Twitch chat can authenticate to Elsa Jean, responder is now authenticated to Elsa Jean. Does that make sense on how this works, chat? Nothing is abnormal from Twitch chat's point of view or Elsa Jean's point of view, other than that the machine they're talking to is the same machine, and that Twitch chat thinks they're talking to Riley when actually they are not. They are talking to responder. I just joined. I have no idea what's going on. You're going to want to go back and watch the VOD we're explaining how responder and NTLM relay work. So one big thing to know about this is that when you bring NTLM Relay X into the equation, and you're relaying to a different target than was intended, you can relay to Riley. There's nothing stopping you from relaying to Riley. How does Riley please become Elsa please? Does Windows not care what's inside? Windows, all Windows sees is legitimate NTLM authentication requests. This request from Riley please is not being forwarded directly to Elsa Jean. NTLM Relay X is sending its own request, its own forged NTLM authentication request. Then Elsa's providing the challenge, and NTLM Relay sends it back to Twitch chat, pretending it's the challenge for Riley Reid. Twitch chat responds to it, and then NTLM Relay X sends the challenge in response. Does that make sense? This is the only part that's forwarded unchanged, because this is the part with the actual authentication in it. So if you're authenticating to if you're using NTLM Relay X to redirect authentication requests like this, you're going to have network connectivity on the network be real strange. Sometimes users will have trouble accessing share drives or or various services using NTLM authentication, they're going to have a hard time authenticating to things if they're not doing it with Kerberos. So basically, we can authenticate anywhere we want as Twitch chat. In this scenario, Twitch chat, for whatever reason, can authenticate to all of these machines. We are authenticating to fhtagn because we want access to fhtagn. Fhtagn has is a high value target, we could call her. Okay? So you're gonna see some authentication failures here, okay? Not knowing all the features of Responder, can it not simulate someone? It does simulate someone. It simulates the entire NTLM authentication request. Well, what does fhtagn give you so that you can use as the authentication token? Is it the NTLM hash? She doesn't give you anything. She doesn't give you anything. She thinks that Callie is authenticating to her in a completely normal way. This is completely normal to her. fhtagn doesn't see any difference. All fhtagn sees is Callie trying to authenticate to her. That is it. Callie's authenticating, says hello. fhtagn sends back the challenge as she's supposed to do. NTLM relay on the back end is relaying those to Twitch chat to get Twitch chat's challenge and response, because it's Twitch chat that actually has the authentication. This is where the authentication is actually happening, in this challenge and response. Because it comes from your IP? Yes, that is correct. This is how NTLM relay works. So this is what I will try first every single time on a network. I turn on Responder. The first thing I do is just turn on Responder for a few hours. Responder will not disrupt communication on the network. It's just that most authentication requests will be going through an intermediary. And they just won't know it. So I'll turn on Responder first. If I see NTLM hashes, LLM&R NBTNS traffic usually is enabled. It is enabled by default. And networks tend to not disable it. Some have, but most do not disable it. If I turn on Responder and I see hashes, I gather up all those hashes and I throw them onto my cracking server. Okay? I don't have a cracking server, my company does. My company has an extremely beefy server with like 8 graphics cards that we use for password cracking. So I gather a bunch of Responder hashes and I throw them onto the server to crack. Okay, that's the first thing that I do. The second thing I do. Did they scoop up a Brutalis? We do have a Brutalis, yes. Can you use Responder on a box sometime just to demonstrate? I've used it on Raw before. I think it was Raw. It was either Raw or Raw 2, where we had to capture, we could force the box to authenticate to us, if I remember right, and we used Responder to capture the challenge and response. So we can, perhaps on Thursday, we can do Raw again if you guys would like to see Responder in action. What types of methods are used on that server for getting the passwords? Is that proprietary? What do you mean? I'm not sure what you mean by that question. My password is Hunter2. Is it safe? I would not say that is a terribly strong password. Hack the Box Learning Path 2 has a box with Responder. Great. Responder is one of those tools you rarely get to use in CTFs, but you will always, 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 always use it on assessments. I cannot emphasize this enough. When you get out on a real assessment on an internal network, the first thing you should do is turn on Responder. Say it back to me, chat. If you get everyone in chat right now, if you ever do an internal penetration test, what is the first thing you do? Call Riley Reid. Fucking goddamn it. Turn on Responder. Responder, 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 Responder. Why? Because this almost always works. You can capture hashes, and you can crack them, and you need those credentials. I cannot emphasize enough how important that first set of credentials is, and we're going to go into that in a little bit. That first set of credentials, no matter how low privilege they are of absolutely critical importance. And Responder is one of the ways you get to those credentials. That cracking this challenge response is a very common way for me to get that initial set of credentials. Okay? Does that make sense? What other tool have we not mentioned here? I've seen people mentioning it in chat, but I haven't brought it up yet. What other tool is useful in a very similar way to Responder? Not Wireshark. Wireshark is useful, but not Wireshark. We're going to get into crack map exec soon. Don't worry. When doesn't Responder work? If LM&R MBTNS traffic is disabled. Which it should be. It is a finding if Responder works. Mills Gold is correct. Man in the middle 6. Man in the middle 6. Another absolutely 100% critical tool to know about. What is man in the middle 6? Based on the name, what do you think man in the middle 6 does? No one uses IPv6? They think they don't use it. That's the funny part about IPv6, chat. The funny part about IPv6 is everyone thinks they don't use it, but actually they do. They actually do. So here's the key. IPv6. Obviously, nobody's fucking using it. Nobody uses IPv6. I don't think I've been on a single internal network in my entire career where IPv6 was preferred. Everyone's using IPv4. Okay? But here's the fun part about Windows. The funnest part about Windows is that it's using a bunch of crap in the background you don't even know about. And one of those things is IPv6. And one of the things that Windows like, one of the little quirks about Windows is IPv6 is preferred. Windows prefers IPv6 by default. By default, Windows will prefer IPv6. What does this mean? It means you can use man-in-the-middle 6 in the pretty much exactly the same way as Responder to put yourself in the center of the network just like this. And IPv6 is better than IPv4. People are just afraid of making the swap. It's like IPv6 is much more complicated, and people are afraid of making the swap. The future is IPv6, okay? The future is IPv6. We're not going into that right now. We're going into the fact that most, because for all practical purposes, we don't care about that as pen testers. As pen testers, we don't care about what the future is going to be in 10 years. We don't give a fuck about that. We care about what companies are doing now. What companies are doing now, how they can be compromised now. Okay? And companies right now can be compromised because they're actually using IPv6 when they don't think they are. So man-in-the-middle 6 equals Responder for IPv6. Yes. So it works. Responder uses LM&R MBTNS traffic. Man-in-the-middle 6 uses IPv6. But the end goal is the same. The end goal is to produce this exact situation where our host is man-in-the-middling their entire network. All authentication goes through our host here. Man-in-the-middle 6 basically will respond to IPv6 DNS requests by saying, "Hey, I'm over here. Hi, hello. I'm here and I'm at this IPv6. I'm this host name and I'm at this IPv6 address." Same exact thing as Responder, just with IPv6 instead. Does that make sense? But the end goal can be used with NTLM relay to do this exact scenario. Does this make sense, chat? Now, if you're asking me which one do you use, Al, I typically will use man-in-the-middle 6 and NTLM relay to do these and NTLM relay to do this relay. The reason simply being that I'm lazy and I don't want to change the responder.conf file. That's literally all it is. That like in order to make Responder work with NTLM relay, you have to disable some of Responder's servers, like its SMB server and its HTTP servers, so that NTLM relay can use them instead. If you use NTLM relay with Responder, you essentially are just using Responder to poison the network, and NTLM relay actually handles the authentication requests, as opposed to letting Responder do it. Okay? Man in the middle 6, I don't have to change any configuration at all. I can just fire it up with one command and then turn on NTLM relay X, and I'm relaying. I'm good to go. Would a pen test use both to get 2 findings? Yes. The pen test I was just on has 2 findings. Actually, I'll probably combine them into one. Legacy protocols in use. Or unused protocols in use that aren't that don't have a business case but are still in use on the network. Maybe I'll combine them into one. Maybe I'll make them 2. It depends. It depends on how I feel about the situation. IPv4 is a legacy, yes. LLMNR MBTNS is legacy. IPv6 is not legacy. It's probably better if I just divide it into 2, call one a legacy protocol and one not. Does anyone have sound when running Kali in VirtualBox? Yeah, you can enable sound. I think it's in the settings. You have to enable a sound driver. Are there any DC domain services that rely on IPv6 only, so if you turn it off, you break things? It depends. That's entirely network dependent. It's entirely network dependent. If the network is configured to use IPv6, then man in the middle 6 won't work.
Hey, listen.
Man in the middle 6 only works if IPv6 is not actually in use and there isn't an actual DNS server to talk to. NTLM, man in the middle 6 hinges on pretending to be a DNS server for IPv6. If there already is a DNS server for IPv6, the whole thing collapses in on itself like a dying star. Okay? So you basically IPv6 has to not be in use in order for man in the middle 6 to work. If we disable DHCPv6, it won't work. Or if you disable IPv6, it won't work. Do you install VirtualBox? Yeah, you have to install VirtualBox tools, I believe, to get sound in the VM. So is everyone clear on these tools? These tools are your bread and butter for that first set of credentials. That first set of credentials is of absolutely critical importance. Okay? So, and that's exactly what I did here. I did run Nessus. I did run Nmap scans of all of the subnets. I was provided with a list of subnets to test. This is very common. Companies will provide you a list of subnets they want you to quest. They want you to. How is this different from cross-session relaying? I'm not really sure what you mean by cross-session relaying. I've never heard it referred to that way. Cross-session relaying. It's NTLM relay I'm looking at. It looks like this is just NTLM relay. It looks like it's just another way of doing another way of saying NTLM relay, Angel D. I think, if I'm understanding this correctly, I've never had it used that way, but I think that's what it is. I think also what they're doing, they're talking about using NTLM relay's socks function to create a persistent connection. That's beyond the scope of this discussion. We're not going to talk about. We're not going to talk about that. Can you explain AsRepRos? Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that here in a second. So on this particular assessment, I have I run responder. I capture some hashes. I run NTLM relay X, and I did manage to get a relay off on that first day, but I haven't managed to get one since. I'm not really sure why. It could be that user I relayed just wasn't working. Also, this client has had several pen tests, and it's obvious because all the low-hanging fruit has been picked clean. It's clear that they've been NTLM relayed before. It's clear that their passwords have been cracked before. It's clear that their servers have been compromised and Mimikatz has been used to dump hashes. The low-hanging fruit, my typical tactics, are useless here. Typically, the goal would be the overarching goal is to get credentials, use Kerberosing, AsRepRoasting, and Bloodhound to have, for the first 2, more passwords to crack, and for the third, to enumerate the Active Directory domain and find machines where the users for which we have credentials have admin access. We want to find places they have local admin access. Once we do find those places, we remotely log into those places. We dump the hashes from them, and we try to get more credentials. And then we pivot to other machines. And we try to do, and that it's the standard tactic of an internal pen test is just continually doing that until you find domain admin credentials. Does that make sense? That is the standard tactic. And it's clear that they've had a couple of pen tests before that have gone that way. One way, they have SMB signing enabled almost domain wide. They have like 3,000 or 4,000 hosts. I'm not sure exactly how many, but the files full of my Alive hosts are very large. 3,000 or 4,000 hosts, I would estimate. 4 of them have SMB signing disabled. SMB signing is essentially a protocol for Twitch chat to verify it's talking to Riley Reid, rather than to some other imposter. Does that make sense? It makes relaying impossible. I can't, currently, I believe. There used to be bypasses for it. I don't think they work anymore. I do not think they work anymore. It does slow down the network. It is not common to see SMB signing enabled domain-wide. It is enabled for domain controllers. Domain controllers will have it enabled by default. But it is rare to see it enabled domain-wide because it slows down the network. Okay? So SMB signing is slower. It's noticeably slower for users than not using SMB signing. So, but this domain had it enabled on almost every host, over thousands of hosts. Only 4 hosts did not have SMB signing enabled. And I did succeed in a relay to one of those. One time. And it dumped the SAM file, but that didn't get me anything. It just got me local hashes that didn't even work because Lapse is enabled. And it was a pain in the ass. Okay? So, alright. So I didn't get anywhere with relaying. And passwords were not cracking. Which sucks. Because they've had several pen tests and guaranteed their findings on some of them were weak password policy. Weak password policy is one of my most common findings. I think I've had weak password policy on almost every assessment I've ever been on. Except for this one. Eventually, after like 2 days of Brutalis working nonstop, one password cracked. Finally. One password finally cracked. And that's so key. That is so crucial. Because again, that first set of credentials enables me to do like 5 more things. It was not welcome 1, 2, 3, 4. It was actually fairly strong. It was long at least. And another thing I can do with a set of valid credentials is enumerate the password policy. I can find out what the domain password policy is. And I found out that they have a 14-character minimum. And I'm like, son of a bitch. They're following the NIST guidelines. Son of a fucking bitch. Like, yeah, that's what I said, yeah. I was like, God damn it, they're doing good security practices. So yeah, again, there's evidence that they've had pen tests before, okay? So what do I do? What do I do from here? Well, I run Bloodhound. They were doing so well. And this is gonna... yeah, they had such promise, yeah. The fall from grace is going to be pretty extreme, chat. I hope you're ready for this, because the fall from grace, I assure you, is precipitous. We'll call it precipitous. So I have a valid set of credentials now. Okay? I have one valid set of credentials. With those valid set of credentials, what can I do? Run Bloodhound. Bloodhound. Immediately Bloodhound. I need to be able to see the network. Bloodhound is an absolutely critical tool. It is absolutely 1,000% critical that you learn Bloodhound. If you intend on doing any kind of testing in an Active Directory environment, Bloodhound is absolutely 1,000% crucial. Get Bloodhound. Or understand Bloodhound. So I ran Bloodhound, and yeah, people are saying in chat, in packet, get user spins. I dumped all of I Kerberosted all the hashes. And from Bloodhound, I was able to determine that one of those hashes for an account called Solar Winds. Just remember that. One of those passwords for an account called Solar Winds was a domain admin. So they have a domain admin account with a SPIN, with an SPN, a service principal name. Okay? That means I can dump a ticket granting, a service ticket for that service. It's useless to me because it's only useful if you already have the password for that ticket, essentially. But that ticket can be cracked. So, along with all the other spins, I threw it onto Brutalis. But I'm gonna spoil it for you, chat. Those passwords have not cracked yet. To this day, they have not cracked. And I know why. And we're gonna get there soon. We're gonna get there soon. I wasn't holding my breath. I checked when the password was recently set. That Solar Winds account, obviously, was very interesting. So I checked when the password was set. It was last set in December with a minimum password length of 14. Very unlikely to crack. And I can tell you, after having seen some of more of their clear text passwords, which we'll get to here in a little bit, it's not going to crack. It's definitely not going to crack. I could be running every Brutalis server on the network in these passwords, every Brutalis server in the world, at once on these hashes, and they still wouldn't crack. We're talking very complex, long passwords. Okay, so I have the spins. I do what is Brutalis? It's a very beefy password cracking server. Has a whole bunch of GPUs in it. Very fast password cracking, relatively speaking. The password is boobas. You're actually not far off of what the password was that actually cracked. It made me laugh a little bit. So how do users remember the passwords? Funny you should ask that, Killer2224. It's funny you should ask that. How do the users remember their passwords? Good question. Hang on to that for 2 minutes, okay? We're gonna get to it. Hang on to that. So, the user I have does not have local admin access to anything. I spray it through the network. I check Bloodhound. Bloodhound does not list any... Bloodhound is often very squirrely over which users have admin access. It's happened a lot of times in the past where Bloodhound doesn't report a user has admin access to a server, but they actually do. So I often like to just check especially with that first set of credentials, I like to just spray them through the whole network. If stealth is not an issue, I just like to spray them through the entire network to see if any of them pop. And there were no local admin access. None. Not a single machine, for this did I have local admin access on, which sucks. Not happy about that. It's not very cash money of them. Let me go back. We don't need to look at NTLM right now. Let's go back to my face. So, at this point, what do you do, chat? I've run Bloodhound. I've run an ASREP roast. I did get a hash from ASREP roasting as well. It's also cracking, but it's in Brutalis, but it's not cracking. What do I do now? Get access to security? Oh, man, that would be a sick attack vector. I did not find any security cameras. In this particular environment. Shortest path to DC. I tried that. No path. So at this point, this is the point where I'm going to re-emphasize something I said the other day. If you find a valid set of credentials on a network, and especially if it's your only valid set of credentials, you should be trying those credentials everywhere. Everywhere. Those credentials should be your go-to. You should be throwing those credentials into web interfaces, SSH, any authentication portal you can find, you should be throwing those credentials into. So at this point, I pulled out Aquatone. Does anyone know what Aquatone is? You could have used Aquatone, Go Witness. I personally prefer Aquatone. I don't know why it's called Aquatone. Aquatone is a tool for you give it a whole bunch of IP addresses, and it will screenshot all of the websites located at those IP addresses on common ports. It'll check ports 80, 8080, 443, and 8443. I think it checks those 4 ports, and it'll just send a screenshot. It'll take a screenshot of those pages, and it'll put it in a really nice interface for you with information about the web page. Okay, so it's a way for me to really quickly look at all web servers on the network, at least the ones that are running on common ports. Does that make sense? Yeah, I'm sure NahamSec uses it. It's useful for bug bounties for scanning large IP ranges. It lets you take a look at large IP ranges worth of... Because there's... On an internal network, everything has a web interface these days. So you're going to find... On just this internal network, I found dozens of web logins. For custom apps, for ES6i, for SolarWinds, for backup services. I found all kinds of fucking crap. And I just started throwing these credentials against all of them. And many of them I authenticated to. And every single one that I authenticated to, I investigated its functionality to see, can I get code execution? Is there anything sensitive in here? Are there any credentials I can find? And I eventually found Outlook Web Access. Do we like Outlook Web Access, do you think? Yep, OWA. We do indeed like Outlook Web Access, don't we, folks? We love Outlook Web Access. So I authenticated, and of course there's no two-factor authentication. What the fuck are you talking about, killer? Of course there's no two-factor authentication. Why would you use that? That's slow. Nope, logged right in, dude. Logged right into this guy's email. What manner of employee do you think that this employee was that I had compromised? What manner of employee do you think he maybe was? Yeah, he was IT. He was a help desk guy. He was an IT help desk technician. So what's the first thing I do? What's the first thing you would do in any person's email in this situation? Passwords! Passwords, passwords, passwords. Now, phishing, that's an interesting vector. If in this case, I didn't see it as necessary. In this case, I didn't see it as necessary. I was still... In this moment, when I had access to this guy's OWA, I was like, I'm going to get domain admin at some point. They're making it harder on me than usual. But this is, ultimately, they're not going to be able to stop me. Because I'm the best, and all of them are the worst. Okay? So, but, if we got all the way through this week, and I'm still not domain admin, I've made no headway, then I might ask them, hey, I've compromised one of your employees' emails. Can I send phishing emails? Are you going to be upset if I send phishing emails? Internally. Yeah, that would have been a potential vector to compromise more people. Especially as a help desk technician. Hey, we just need you to run this quick update. Just download this executable and run it. Did you use Cobalt Strike? I did use Cobalt Strike. I set up a team server inside of the network, and I did use Cobalt Strike to manage the hosts that I needed code execution on. But I hadn't done that at this point. But yeah, phishing would have worked. I would not have resorted to it unless I really couldn't make any headway. Which at this point, I was still confident I was going to make headway. And in fact, I did. The first thing I did was go to the little search box at the top and type in password. What do you think I found? I found like 100,000 emails to the help desk asking for users to reset their password. And I found references in emails to a default temporary password. Oh no, chat. Oh no. Not the default temporary password. You were doing so well. And after looking through some email chains, I found it. I found the default temp password. We're playing with the idea that this is eCorp. We'll call it eCorp. The password was... Let's go back to... Let's just go back to this. That's the default temp password. So what are you doing now, chat? I don't have an emoji to express my horror. Spray! We're spraying, boys! When I saw this, I'm obviously fully erect. Like, I am fully erect. I am ready to spray. I'm gonna spray all over Riley Reid and Elsa Jean's face, okay? We're spraying it everywhere. Like, we're fully turgid, okay? How many accounts do you think I got, chat? How many accounts do you think I got? Quickster, actually correct. I got right around 40 accounts. Right around 40 accounts. All of them using the same fucking password. They were doing so well. Now what do you do, chat? Now think like a pen tester. What's the plan now? You just discovered this default temp password and compromised 40 accounts. What happens now? Well, yeah, you mark the users as owned in Bloodhound, yes, but you're missing something. Just a guy, elaborate on that. Change all of their passwords, what do you mean? Elaborate on that, just a guy. Aha! Sabertis is thinking like a pen tester, I like it. What about welcome to eCorp 2? That was about 30 more. I'm not kidding. This just happened. I can't lie about this. And why stop there? Stop it. You gotta be fucking I'm not kidding. This is not a joke. This is not a joke. I'm not kidding. The only thing I'm limited by is the lockout policy, which I already knew. It was 10 failed password requests would lock out an account for 15 minutes. So I already knew the lockout policy, so as long as I didn't send 10 requests right off the bat, I was good. I tried welcome to eCorp 1, 2, 3, all the way through 9. I tried 10 and 11, but those didn't drop anything. I tried welcome to eCorp 1, exclamation point. I tried welcome to eCorp, exclamation point. All of those. I think every single one of them, except for welcome to eCorp 10 and 11, dropped accounts. All told, I compromised about 80 accounts. Through this simple vector of finding the default temp password and then just modifying it a little bit. And I bet you I would have cracked a whole bunch more if I created a small word list to brute force them. This is a real story. I am not making this up. Helen of Tor, am I making this up? I called Helen of Tor to tell her about this crap. I called her as it was happening. I'm not making up any of this. This is 0% made up. I'm just changing the names. How many users total? I compromised about 80 accounts through this vector. So at this point, you go in. At this point, once I'm satisfied that I have enough accounts, because at a certain point, you don't really need any more accounts, and I figured 80 is definitely going to be enough. I go ahead and go into Bloodhound and start marking all the users as owned. I just start marking all of the users as owned, and then seeing if what I can access with them. And to the client's credit, when you talk to the client, what they have to say, I haven't told them about this finding yet. I haven't told them about the default password yet. I'll tell them tomorrow on the call. I have a status update call tomorrow. Boy, that's going to be an interesting fucking call. I have like 9 things. Were you wearing a hoodie? I don't think I was wearing a hoodie at this moment, no. I typically just test in a t-shirt and pajama pants. Like, I slum it when I'm testing. Comfort is typically... Yeah, the pajama pants help with the erection, I find. So... at this point, I go into Bloodhound, I mark all the users as owned, and I try to find paths to domain admin. I don't find any. I check the users that have... 2 users have local admin access on the same server. And Bloodhound is reporting that those 2 users have local admin access to the same server. And I do log into that server, and I use Mimikatz to dump the hashes. I don't use Mimikatz on the server because I'm afraid of their endpoint protection, but as I found out, Symantec is absolute fucking dog shit. I am embarrassed. I am actually embarrassed for Symantec. I swear to God, I was using my laziest tradecraft. I really was using my absolute laziest tradecraft, and nothing was getting caught. Literally nothing. Literally nothing was getting caught. I had to drop... Eventually, I was like, well, I have to test to see if antivirus is actually working. Like, is it even working on this host? So I just dumped PowerView on disk. I just dropped unobfuscated PowerView on disk. And that worked. Symantec did catch that. So, congratulations, Symantec. You can catch unobfuscated PowerView if someone drops it directly onto disk for some reason. Like, was it Symantec? Yes, it was SCP Enterprise. I found the web. One of the things that Aquatone found was the web login portal for Symantec Endpoint Protection Enterprise. I was so embarrassed for Symantec at how bad it was. It was very, very bad. It did not catch my laziest tradecraft. I had to actually try to trigger it. That's how bad it was. So antivirus endpoint protection was not in my way in any meaningful capacity. I have admin access. By the way, I'm using CrackMap exec through all of this. I have failed to mention CrackMap exec. That was a failure on my end. I'm using CrackMap exec through all of this situation. CrackMap exec is basically the way I'm getting code execution on the server I now have local admin access to. I use CrackMap exec to... Eventually, I got a Cobalt Strike beacon. I set up a Cobalt Strike team server inside of their network on my VM, and then I executed a Cobalt Strike beacon on my compromised host. I really just did that for convenience, so that I could consistently run logon passwords whenever I wanted to. And also so that I could run Rubius conveniently. I did it for convenience's sake. But I don't really get anything. Honestly, that server got me very, very little. It ended up being instrumental to my takeover of the network, but that server itself got me very, very little. How are CrowdStrike? CrowdStrike are very good. They're definitely in one of the topper tier. They're real good, comparatively speaking. Are you not worried about being stealthy? I'm not worried about being stealthy, but I want to bypass antivirus. I need my stuff to run. I don't care if they catch me, but I need my stuff to run. So, I don't care about beating my head against antivirus a little bit, but I didn't have to. So, at this point, I'm a little stuck. To the company's credit, they've done an absolutely excellent job with principle of least privilege. I have compromised 80 accounts, chat, and I have admin access on one server, and that one server is not really getting me anywhere. At this point, I'm kind of at a loss. I'm like, God damn it. Like, they're kind of giving me a hard time. So I run Bloodhound, but this time I run Sharphound. I was running the Python Bloodhound before. But so this time I decided to, through my Cobalt Strike beacon, run sharphound.exe which would produce slightly different output. So I could add that to my bloodhound. Depending on what user you run bloodhound as, which ingester you use, bloodhound will have somewhat different output. So it behooves you to run bloodhound a couple of times in a different user contexts and from different locations on the network to see what you can see. In your experience, or Linux-based, I've never seen a purely Linux-based network. Most networks will have Linux machines on them for servers, but they're harder to administer because they don't have like a native Active Directory sort of thing going on to sync them all up. What kind of server was it? It was an MS SQL server, which I have yet to actually investigate. Last night, I was planning on using MSSQL client.py to try and authenticate to the Microsoft SQL server running on that endpoint to see if I could access any proprietary information or linked databases or anything of that nature. With no creds? I had creds. I had 80 accounts worth of creds. And so I'm sure that one of those users would have access to the SQL server, including the users that have local admin on that server. I'm going to do that tonight again. Tonight, that's my first plan tonight to actually do that. But last night, something more interesting happened. So I ran Bloodhound again last night, first thing. I fire it up. I start looking through it again. And I find something I missed before. Find a little something I missed before, chat. We're going to have a look at this Bloodhound output. Oddly enough, Bloodhound did not find this pathway for some reason by default, and I don't know why. I had to modify some of the configuration and mark domain admins as high value in order for it to find this. I don't know why. But in order for it to note this relationship. But we're just going to have a look at this.
A hunter must hunt.
And I'm just going to let you take it in. I'm going to take a nice drink of my water. I'm just going to let you take this in for what it is because, wow. So you just take a look at that, chat. We're all just going to be quiet. Obviously, I've redacted. This is live Bloodhound data from a live network. And I've redacted the important data of the company. What are we seeing, chat? I'm just gonna take a drink, and you just take a look at what you're seeing here. So, some in chat are pointing it out already. Right here. For absolutely no reason that I can divine, literally the everyone account, which consists of all domain users and domain computers, the everyone group on Active Directory has write DYACL permissions to the service accounts. One of which is that SolarWinds account we mentioned, which is a member of the domain admins group. Yeah, I literally called Helen of Tor at like midnight. And I was like, am I fucking crazy? Is this some kind of like intended? I contacted 3 other testers asking them, have you ever seen this? This cannot be what I think it is. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. Because what is write DYACL? Well, every object in an Active Directory domains are made up of objects. Objects can be users, groups, computers, or groups of those. Okay? Those objects have what are called access control lists. ACLs, ACLs. Those access control lists are basically like permissions. Like what users are allowed to modify, play with those objects. Is everyone following me so far? This is Newbie Tuesday. I don't want to leave anyone in the lurch. If I'm going too fast, do ask questions. So, you don't necessarily have read, write, executable permissions. That's not how it works, Oa Toad. It's more the ability to modify the object itself in Active Directory. It was and write deacle. What do you think the write deacle permission confers? What do you guys think? Based on the name, what do you guys think that means? It means that we can write ACLs to the service account. We can modify the service account's ACLs. So we can say, hey, hi, service account. Hi, I am a member of the Everyone group. And as according to your Active Directory configuration, I would like you to give me full permissions to you and every object contained within your group. In this case, the service accounts object is what's called an OU, an organizational unit. Organizational units contain other Active Directory objects. In this case, as you can imagine, the service accounts OU contains all the service accounts on the network, including the SolarWinds account. I don't know what ACL means. It's Access Control List. The D stands for discretionary. Yeah, Tiberius pointed it out. Is non-domain members also included? No, it's domain users and domain computers. The Everyone group is default. And everyone on the domain can modify the ACLs of the service account. Or of the service account's OU. Does that make sense? So I can say, hey, service account, I want full access to every object in your OU. Including this one. I want full access to that object. What does access to that, full access to that object, generic all permissions, as we would call them in the ACL world, generic all. So we want to give ourselves generic all permissions over the service accounts OU and have that cascade down to all of its constituent objects. Okay? In particular, I want the permission to change SolarWinds' password. That's the most direct and simple way to gain code execution by modifying an Active Directory object, by forcing it to change its password. So, I granted one of my compromised accounts, I could have picked any compromised account, apparently. I could have granted any of my compromised accounts the permissions to modify SolarWinds' password. And then I changed their password. I changed SolarWinds' password. And I was then able to authenticate to the domain controller and gain a beacon on the domain controller. And it is done. How did no other pentest find this? I don't know. Again, I missed it at first too. And Bloodhound did not find this path until I tweaked it. I found that everyone had write deacle to service accounts. I saw this in the dangerous permissions list, but it didn't make this whole chain. It didn't make this whole nice chain. I had to force it. I had to force it to make this chain so that I could make a nice screenshot to put in the report. So, with the SolarWinds account, I then DC synced to gain all of their domain admin hashes. I ran Mimikatz on the domain controller to grab all of the passwords, some of which were in clear text. Multiple domain admins had sessions on that domain controller, and two of them, I think, were in clear text. And that's because it's actually the first time I've seen this. Hi, honey. Here you go. It's actually the first time I've seen this. So it's a little known feature of Windows authentication that you can use that LSAS can be loaded with optional modules called security service providers, or SSPs. Basically, they're optional modules that can be loaded into LSAS. And they can contain clear text credentials sometimes. Okay, you want to see full screen. Hang on. I know, sweetie. I know, Daddy's holding you. I know, you're a kitty. So, Mimikatz was able to dump the contents of those SSPs in memory. She's not like being held. She got them apple bottom jeans, Indian boots, pretty fur, pretty fur. Okay, hang on. Let's do a long cat. Quick long cat. Look at how bewildered. Look how over this shit she is. Look how over this she is. Okay, go ahead. So that's where we are on the domain right now. That is where we are on the domain right now. I did have to contact the customer after I changed the SolarWinds password and DC synced. I contacted the customer and said I probably just fucked up SolarWinds Orion, but all you need to do is change the password back. And I assured them that I found a severe vulnerability in your Active Directory, and the only way to exploit it cleanly was to change your SolarWinds password. Is Bloodhound really, really loud? It is, unless you use attack DC only. It's much quieter if you use the DC only option. I run Bloodhound on Red Team assessments. I just usually do it with DC only. Is there other way to own SolarWinds but not change the password? None that I could think of. Because I don't have the ability to alter SolarWinds itself. I can change its object of its account in Active Directory. Like, I could have made it I could have added more things to this, more accounts to the service accounts OU. I could have. Was your client ever vulnerable to the SolarWinds exploit from last year? I wonder if the right deaccl permissions. I don't know, honestly. I'm gonna have to ask them. I'll ask them on the call tomorrow. Like, I'll explain. I've never seen this on any domain I've ever been on in my entire life. I don't know why your domain is set up this way, but it needs to stop. Please tell me I haven't compromised actual SolarWinds. Well, I could now if I wanted to. But I had no reason to actually attack SolarWinds itself. I did try to log in. I tried my help desk credentials, and I tried some other simple credentials, and they didn't log me in, So how is the right deaccl to service account exploited? I gave myself generic all permissions over the SolarWinds account and then changed its password. That's how I exploited it. That's definitely the most straightforward way to exploit it. So once again, was the everyone with right deaccl or just for this customer? That is not normal. Everyone should not have any ACL to anything, let alone right deaccl to an OU containing a domain admin. What tool did you use to do that? PowerView. I used PowerView has commandlets that will allow you to alter domain object ACLs. I used PowerView to generate ACLs and then apply them to the OU. All right, we got like an hour left. We're gonna do proving grounds. Keep asking questions. This is still an ongoing assessment. This is still a very ongoing assessment. So there's more to do. And I'll keep you updated on what else I compromise if I find other ways to domain admin. But I like to give you guys a good sense of what being a pen tester is actually like. PowerView barely obfuscated. I didn't obfuscate it at all. All I did was load it remotely. I just did IEX IWR. Or I just did IEX or invoke expression, invoke web request. I just downloaded PowerView in memory and executed it. From CRTO, PowerView seems to be super powerful. PowerView is indispensable. The only weakness of PowerView is it produces a lot of output in big domains, because Active Directory has a lot of has a lot of stuff in it. But PowerView is really, really powerful. Hence PowerView. Well, it's called PowerView because of PowerShell, but PowerView, even Bloodhound is using PowerView under the hood. The Bloodhound uses PowerView under the hood to do its enumeration. Okay, we're doing Proving Grounds play. Yeah, it didn't even catch that. No. I'm telling you, my laziest tradecraft was not caught. I didn't even bother to bypass AMSI. Wasn't necessary. I was planning to just bypass AMSI, and then IEX IWR. That's it. But I didn't even have to bypass AMSI. Again, keep in mind, I'm not on a red team assessment. My job is not to remain stealthy. My job is to test their vulnerabilities. If they have weak endpoint protection, I need to test for that. So I actually dropped, I just dropped PowerView onto disk to see if it would catch it, and it did catch that and delete it. But it seemed to be completely blind to PowerShell, which is incredible. In the year of our Lord 2021, in the year of our Lord 2021, antivirus products just ignoring PowerShell entirely is insane to me. Or 2022, excuse me. I can't even remember what year it is. I've been working nights for over a week now, and I'm fucking tired. Okay, search. Symantec has been rough. It's not a good one. Honestly, if you're there are plenty of endpoint protections out there that are quite good. Windows Defender for endpoint is very good. It's one of the best out there. Carbon Black is very good. CrowdStrike is very good. Cybereason is okay. It definitely caused me problems. It has a nasty sandbox that it runs your executables in, which I was really annoyed by. It was easy to bypass its signatures, but not its sandbox. Carbon Black is endpoint protection. Oreo Byte. Carbon Black's real good. I've never tried Sentinel-1. Never played against that. The worst ones are McAfee, Symantec. Arctic Wolf is absolute garbage. Again, every endpoint protection is different, so. Alrighty, let's look at Windows Defender is actually really good, both with the endpoint and Azure. Windows Defender for endpoint is one of my most feared enemies. I can bypass it. It has nuances that I can get past. But Windows Defender for endpoint is one of the most frustrating out there. I have not played against Kaspersky, Jiffaram. But they use it on the space station, according to that movie Moonfall. They use Kaspersky on literally every computer in the world. That Moonfall movie was so fucking hilarious. Me and Helen of Tor went to go see the movie. I swear to God, every computer screen in the fucking movie has Kaspersky Antivirus's logo on it. You'll see a computer screen in the background of some government lab or whatever, and it'll have the Kaspersky logo on it just randomly. And then at one point, there's a scene change, and it's just like the whole screen is just a Kaspersky billboard, and it just slowly zooms out. And then the ludicrousness of this movie cannot be understated. The main characters fly a space shuttle up to the moon. I know what you're saying, Al. You don't fly a space station to the... Listen, okay? Listen. Just bear with me. It's too much to explain right now. The point is they were explaining they had to fly the... I assure you they were flying I assure you they were flying the damn thing to the moon. The space shuttle to the moon. So they flew a space shuttle from a museum. Yeah, pardon me, Fromaster. Pardon me. They flew a space shuttle to the moon, from a museum to the moon, and they stop at the International Space Station to refill, to fuel. And like they get out, the guy gets out in a spacewalk to like connect like the pipes or whatever, and like the little panel that they use to start the fueling, I swear to God, it's a little computer touchscreen panel, and it says protected by Kaspersky. I swear to God, you can't get away from it. You can't get away from Kaspersky in this movie. What movie is this? Moonfall. It's a recent crazy B disaster movie. That movie was fucking hysterical, honestly. Me and Helen of Tor saw it together, and it was absolutely crazy. All right, let's do an easy box. I'm just going to pick one arbitrarily. We're going to pick Lampayo. Is that okay, chat? Now, you know what? We'll do a poll. Why break precedent? We'll do a quick poll. Inclusiveness. Oh, the InfoSec prep box. Already cracked that one. SAR. We'll go DC-2. There we go. Ever assess something not AD? Yeah, I do all kinds of assessments, my dude. I've assessed web applications. I've done external assessments. I've assessed mobile devices. I've assessed stuff that's not AD all the time. I just specialize in AD these days because I'm a red teamer. Any of these use Responder? I'll show off. We'll do Responder on Thursday, okay? On Thursday, we will do Responder. Okay? Or maybe we'll go through Throwback again. Throwback used Responder, if I remember right. We could go through... Throwback was TryHackMe's introductory Active Directory network. We could go through Throwback again, if you guys want. I did my first ever hard hack the box over the last 2 days and didn't need a single hint. Best feeling ever. Hey, that's great. Consti forgot his password. Nice. Nice. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations. You're off to the races, my dude. Oh, we have to connect to the thing first. Oh, no. I hit shutdown by accident. No. Stop. God damn it. I hit shutdown by accident. I'm sorry. Hang on. We got to power it back up again. This is a sick desktop background. Look at this. While this starts up, let's just revel in how fucking awesome this desktop background is. God, that background is fucking sick. I found this artwork on Reddit, and it's fucking crazy good. I love this. I love this background. Yeah, Hack the Box hard boxes are definitely harder than OSCP, that's for sure. Our wallpaper? No, it was from the Elden Ring subreddit, I think. Who is the artist? Good question. I followed them on Reddit, but I don't remember who the artist is off the top of my head. But it was very, very good. Yeah, that artist has never known defeat. Why is... Come on. Why is my VM not responding now? Oh, there it goes. That was weird. All right, we're logging in. All right, here we are. It doesn't seem to be capturing my mouse, chat. Like, can I click on... I can't click on anything. Great. Let's just shut it down. God damn it. I don't know why it's doing this. Okay, I gotta get caught up on these fucking follows, too. And these... Taddington, thanks for the 100 Tiggle biddies 2 hours ago. Digital Warhead with the 69 Tiggle biddies. I do appreciate the bits, guys. I was just trying to get through my story. And also explain NTLM Relay and all that stuff. Thank you guys so much for the Tiggle biddies. Oreo Bite with the 100 Tiggle biddies. Oh, yeah, I have... let's give away one of those Try Hack Me vouchers right now. Let's do that. Nightbot. Try Hack Me voucher. We'll do giveaways. All right, we'll do a keyword. The keyword is SolarWinds123. All lowercase. I had to legitimately talk myself out of changing SolarWinds' password to SolarWinds123. The only real reason I didn't do it is because it didn't quite fit their password policy. It's 13 characters and their minimum characters are 14. How do I lowercase number? Welcome to eCorp123. Okay, now at least the mouse is working. I don't know what that was about before. That was very strange. I'll give you guys a minute. Put in Solar. All you have to do is type SolarWinds123 one time, and you're entered for a chance to win one of these Try Hack Me vouchers. There's no way for me to police this, but I do ask, please, that if you are already subscribed to Try Hack Me, please bow out of the giveaway and give it to somebody who really needs the subscription. And we'll do another one when I'm done with the box. I have 2 codes to give away. We'll do another one when I'm done with the box. All you have to do is type SolarWinds123 in chat one time, and you're entered. All right, I'll give you guys another 10 seconds. Another 10 seconds. I'm going to take a drink here. All right, let's do it. Clarence JPN. Clarence JPN, are you in chat? Speak up, my friend. You have won. Mr. Streamer, where do you get the vouchers? Sometimes people give them to me, and sometimes I buy them. In this case, they're provided by Oreo Bite. Clarence JPN. I'm going to send you this in a whisper. There you go. Enjoy your code, Clarence JPN. Congratulations. We will be giving away another one of these at the end of the stream. At the end of the stream, after we finish the box, we will give away another one of these. So if you didn't win, you have another shot after the box. Sudo OpenVPN. So no hacking happening just yet. All we're doing is connecting to the VPN. So the VPN, the OpenVPN gives a lot of output, but all we're really looking for is this initialization sequence completed. That means that we're connected. We can check if config ton 0, and we do indeed have a ton 0, standing for a tunnel or a VPN interface. Can I have your ZSHRC? It's pretty much the normal one. Like, I add a few aliases to it, and that's about it. All right. Okay. Start tmux. And here we are. Let's go ahead and start up the box. It will take a moment to start up. Okay, starting the box up. Did you fix your T-Mux? I do want to change these. I want to change these colors, but that's about all I want to change. The rest of it looks nice. I just think the hot pink and yellow is a little bit severe. I want that NeoFetch configuration. You mean this one? This one right here? The NeoFetch configuration, I just remove... NeoFetch, like, puts these ugly colors down here I don't like. I remove those. And I put my own custom ASCII art in there, obviously. It's just custom ASCII art. That's all. I can post the Cthulhu... If you guys want the ASCII art, I can post that. Let me see. It's in... while the box is starting up, we got a second anyways. It's in .neofetch. I think I'm holding it there. Where's the NeoFetch folder? Is it just NeoFetch without the dot? Oh, it's in .config. I think, right? CD NeoFetch. Yeah, it's .config NeoFetch. And I think it's Cthulhu ASCII 1. Let's less config.conf. How did I set this up? I think I set in the config.conf what ASCII it points to. Because you can have it point to, by default, it'll be the ASCII art of whatever operating system you're running. Like Kali will have a Kali logo and ASCII art. There it is. Which image or ASCII file to play, image source, and I've put Cthulhu ASCII 1.txt, which is right here. I'll post this file in the Discord. Let me throw it up in... I'll put it in the Discord under stream discussion general. 1 second. The box is spinning up anyways, so we're not in a hurry. There you go. That is the Cthulhu ASCII art, if you would like it. I think it looks pretty nice. Which terminal is that? It's just ZSH. It's ZSH, and I've made a bunch of custom configurations to it that make it look nice. That's all. Alright, so I think it's booted up now. We have an IP address. So let us ping that IP address. And we can reach it. We see we have a time to live of 63, which indicates it's likely a Linux machine. Because these different the time to live is fairly arbitrary, and different operating systems will set it by default at different values. Linux by default sets it at 64, Windows at 128. It gets decremented every time it crosses a router. So if you see less than 64, it's very likely a Linux machine. Let's start with an mmap scan. Mmap tac sc to run default enumeration scripts. Tac sv for enumerate... Oh, we don't want to do this in the NeoFetch directory. Nmap tac sc for default scripts. Sv for enumerate versions. On for output in nmap format to a file called nmap. We'll put tac v for verbose. And then the IP address, which is this. So we do see port 80 open. So while that's running, we can go ahead and check out port 80. Looks like just port 80. But we do want to make sure we run a full nmap scan. We want to make sure we fully enumerate this target. And the key is to have... The key to efficiency on a pen test is to have automated scans running in the background, which will take a while, and let your and while you do your manual enumeration at the same time. In this case, this all port scan, as denoted by this TAC is going to scan all 65,535 TCP ports, and it will take a little while. We do see another open port already, so we're glad we did that. But let's go ahead and check out this port 80 first. So what's happened here, chat? We put in a website, and we see up here, if you can see up here in the URL bar, it's changed to http://DC2. What's going on there, chat? Yeah, it's redirect. So what's happening is the web server is redirecting to a virtual host called DC-2. Okay, and we can't resolve it because we don't have a DNS server that knows what DC-2 is. So instead, we just need to kind of tell our machine what DC-2 is, and the way we do that is with Etsy hosts. Put in the IP address, and we can say this is DC-2. So now, if we browse to DC-2, we see we can load a WordPress site. Does that make sense? This is Newbie Tuesday. I don't want to leave anyone behind. If any part of that is confusing, feel free to ask. So we do see WordPress, and many of you, because you've learned from the best, are indeed saying what I was immediately going to say. What's the first thing we want to do here, chat? I'm a newbie. I'm already behind. Okay, well, ask questions then, ItalianFX. Help me out. Help me teach you, ItalianFX. Feel free to ask questions. Yeah, we want to try WP Scan. Let's start with WordPress Scan. WP Scan is a special tool for enumerating WordPress, for enumerating vulnerabilities in WordPress. So let's do WP Scan. We'll delete this part. DC2. And we're just giving the URL. And then we're giving this TAC E for enumerate. We want WordPress to enumerate users and vulnerable plugins. That's usually the first two functions in WP Scan that I run. The way WordPress is laid out makes it very easy to enumerate vulnerabilities, or to enumerate users. Excuse me, to enumerate users. So we see some pretty basic stuff here. We see somewhat of an old version of WordPress, but when you're exploiting vulnerabilities in WordPress, chat, more often than not, you're not going to be exploiting WordPress itself. You're going to be exploiting you're going to be exploiting the third-party plugins. WordPress itself is rarely actually vulnerable, but third-party plugins are very often vulnerable. No vulnerable plugins found. We could add a API key that will do... WordPress is warning us that... or WP Scan is warning us that we haven't added our WordScan API key. Or WP Scan API key. That would do a little bit of a vulnerability scan. It would correlate plugin versions with known vulnerabilities. That's not really necessary. There's not usually enough plugins on one of these... let's do all plugins. We do note these users, which is useful to us. We'll mark those down. We are good hackers, chat. We take good notes. I actually take much better notes when I'm actually on an assessment. It's just something about how I'm constantly trying to like talk to you guys and entertain you guys. I just don't think about taking notes as often. I take much more detailed notes on actual assessments. So we have notes here. For these, we found admin, Jerry, and Tom users. So the first thing we're going to want to do is enumerate all plugins, and then we want to... Okay, that's what I was hoping for. Okay, so I'm just trying to get my auto-completion back so that I don't have to remember if it's TAC capital U or TAC capital or lowercase u, because I can never remember that. I hate that. One of my biggest pet peeves is people that use capital U and capital P instead of lowercase u and lowercase p. It's irritating. Admin, Jerry, Tom, and let's do sec lists. Passwords, common credentials, common.txt. No, it's not common.txt.
Hey, listen.
We can do best 110.txt. What? DC-2? Oh, I forgot to change your thank you. I forgot to change it to DC-2. There we are. So this time we're enumerating all plugins, and we're going to have it start a brute force for these 3 users using this word list. And we'll see if we get any easy hits. While we're here, we can go ahead and we see lorem ipsum content, but it can't hurt to click flag. Okay, well there's a flag here. Your usual word list probably don't work. Maybe you just need to be cool. Okay, so they actually want you to cool this. Interesting. Okay. All right, so we'll see if this works. It looks like it's probably not going to. In this case, they've kind of just bluntly told us what the fuck to do. But this is a common tactic in the real world when you're looking to password spray a web page or brute force. Running Cool, C-E-W-L, is a tool for scraping web pages to generate word lists from them. So Cool will browse to this page, download its content, and use it and generate word lists out of its content. So it's always good. So we'll run Cool here. We'll do tac. We'll let it at default depth this time. Default depth is 2. That's how many pages to spider to. We'll do 2 for this one. Okay. And now we have wordlist.cool. And you see we have all kinds of lorem ipsum stuff in here now. You can also do it's the same. So I was doing a I was checking to see if there are any duplicates in here, but it turns out there apparently are not. All right, so let's use the cool word list. Yeah, I know. People have told me that before, Tiberius. It's just a force of habit. I don't know when I developed that habit, but apparently I have. This is my 4th Etsy subdomain that I've been able to find a sensitive info on. That's awesome, my dude. Nice. Sick. That sounds like a cool bounty. See if we actually break a password here. So cool is made with CTF. No, you use it in the real world too. You don't use it as often in CTFs because usually CTFs have something more interesting going on than just brute forcing passwords. But usually in CTFs, if you see web pages with actual content on them, cool tends to be a relatively reasonable thing to try. Oh, looks like we got Jerry and we got Tom. It appears that we got Jerry and we got Tom, chat. Good old Tom and Jerry. At it again. This is pretty common for compromising WordPress. You'll see WordPress very often in the real world. WordPress is probably the most common CMS that I see. When I'm doing external pen tests, I see WordPress a lot. Okay, that's not what I'm looking for. Is there like a login link here that I can click on? Okay, we can go Tom. WP scan is probably pretty loud, right? Well, yeah, but keep in mind that everything exposed to the open internet is being hammered 24 hours a day, harder than Riley Reid in one of those videos you people like. Every port exposed to the internet is being hammered all the time, no matter what. And it's not, WP scan isn't quiet, but I wouldn't say it's critically loud either, especially if you do it from an anonymous IP. Like you put it through a VPN or something. All right, is there a flag here somewhere? I don't see any flags. I guess we'll probably have to... We can go to posts. So we see here we don't have access to the... we do not have access to the admin console here, which is unfortunate. So we can go ahead and log out. We can try Jerry now. What's on the other port? We haven't looked yet. We're still investigating this one. I was promised a flag, chat. Maybe it's in the profile? Are there draft posts somewhere? I don't see any draft posts. OffSec may have removed the first flag. OffSec typically only has flags for user access to the box and then for root access. So there may not be a flag here. Oh, I'm just a fucking idiot. Oh, okay. Okay, no, I'm an idiot. If you can't exploit WordPress and take a shortcut, there's another way. Well, let's look at that other port. Let's look at that other port. We didn't actually run TAC SV on that other port, did we? So let's go ahead and do that. What port was it? 7744. Because I did not see SSH running. The next thing to try would be SSH. Okay. Well, it looks like SSH is running on 7744. So SSH 7744. We'll try Tom at DC-2. We could try again. I want to emphasize, chat, if you have valid credentials, you should be attempting to use them everywhere. Okay, well, so Tom logged us in. Can we log in as Jerry as well? If you find valid credentials, try them at every point that you can log into. It looks like Jerry doesn't work. I guess I could have just checked Etsy password and tried to sue. Or switch user, I should say. Rather than logging out. So here's, we're in as Tom.
Hackerman.
I'm in. All right, we're in, boys. All right, we have local.txt. Oh.
Why are you the way that you are?
Please! God damn it! Hate this hacker crap. Calling that.
Can't let you do that, Star Fox.
So, what is this, chat? What is that, chat? It's our bash. Restricted bash. So, it's bash, but we can't run most commands. We're restricted to only specific commands. So we need to escape from this somehow. The simplest way is doing it is it tac P? Who remembers how to do this? It's tac no profile. Is it tac T? It's tac T. Okay, tac T. It's tac T for terminal. To specify the terminal, bin bash no profile, right? I can never remember the exact sequence here. Bash command not found. Is it tac no profile like this? I feel like I'm forgetting how to do this. This is a simple escape to rbash. Just put the command at the end. I cannot remember how to do this. Oh, you're right. Yeah, it's tac B. The no profile is for bash. You're right. It looks like it's still not. Yeah, it's we're hitting rbash every time. It's still whatever it is still executing within rbash. So I guess this bypass does not work in this instance. Oh, come on. I hate videos. Like, I hate videos when it's...
A hunter must hunt.
It's, like, really simple to just, like, tell us how to do it. Like, in text. Oh, fuck it. Maybe there's a... We haven't looked for other escapes. Let's just look for other escapes. We need to find what commands we're allowed to run. Can we run ls? We can run ls. We do have a bash history here. Is it in user? Okay. So these are the commands we're allowed to run. Okay, this is completely pointless because we have vi and we have less. So let's head on over to GTFO bins. Both vi and less can get us there. Let's do less. I feel like we haven't shown off lesses yet. So it's just exclamation point bin sh. So we can less local.txt. I hate that I can't tab autocomplete. Okay. Okay, well, we see the flag, so we can go ahead and pop that into the interface over here. Okay, you see that OffSec recognizes we're done by filling up the part of that box. We did try TAC-T. It's still executing an RBash. I don't really know entirely why. So we can just execute exclamation point bin sh. You're kidding me. I'm still executing an RBash. All right, we'll try Vim then. Was it VI or was it Vim? I want to say it was VI. Come on. Set shell equals bin sh. Okay, there we go. So we've broken out of the shell now. So we're out of RBash. But we don't... The reason whoami is not found is because we have no path environment variable. So let me just get my path environment variable. It doesn't matter if some of these directories don't exist. So we got to set our path environment variable so it can find the executables. So now if we cat local.txt, it knows where cat is. Does everyone understand this? Hack the box is not real hacking? Yes, it is. Yes, it is, Gruntplay. It absolutely is. So if you don't okay, I went through that a little bit fast. So, all right, so when we SSH into the box, we were put into a restricted shell called RBash. RBash only allows you to execute certain commands that are whitelisted by your administrator. Okay? Yeah, we'll slow it down a little bit. We'll slow it down. I went a little bit fast. I apologize. Let's just back out. Let's back out and let's do it all over again. Okay? I apologize. I can't even clear. We'll go back. We'll go back entirely to... 1 second. There we go. They are not very realistic situations. They're too far-fetched to be realistic. It's just not true. I mean, Hack the Box is definitely a little bit more CTF-y than the other platforms. Hack the Box boxes tend to have a theme. But the technologies you find on Hack the Box machines are found in real life. And some Hack the Box machines are very realistic. We did one on the last stream. On the last stream, we did search. Search fucking was spot on for an Active Directory exploitation, except for that hokey beginning where the password was hidden in an image on the fucking web page. Except for that part, the rest of that was spot on for how Active Directory exploitation goes. Absolutely spot on. So, again, recall that we brute force WordPress to get credentials, okay? Knowing that we have valid credentials for WordPress, what are the chances that the WordPress users have reused their passwords for their SSH? Pretty high. Realistically speaking, those chances are pretty high. So we connect. Let me get the password again. We try both Tom and Jerry's password. We find Tom's logs us in. Okay? But we can see that if we echo out the shell environment variable, which always contains the value of our current shell, we see that it's not bin bash, it's /bin/rbash. rbash is a special restricted shell that only allows you to run certain commands. It's a way of restricting a user's access to only allow them to run certain commands that the administrator allows. Does that make sense? Is everyone following me? How do you see which commands you can use? Good question. Those are typically stored in a directory, in the user's directory. And here we see user. And we see a bin directory inside of there. And here we can see symlinks to the commands that we are allowed to run. These are symbolic links. They're not the actual executables. They're just pointing to the executables and telling rbash where to find them. These are the commands that we are allowed to run. Does that make sense? Have you ever seen an rbash you couldn't escape? No, I've never seen rbash in real life. Very unusual to see rbash in real life. Couldn't you fix almost all password tricks you pulled over stream with a YubiKey? Yeah. You bet. How many organizations do you think are doing that, though? As opposed to the ease of just having passwords. Not many. Symlinks are always completely writable. It doesn't mean anything. EtsySec. We could delete this symlink and then make another. We can't make another symlink though. We can't write to this. We can't use the ln command. What are the other options to securely restrict the shell? I would just have them have an unrestricted shell and just make sure that they have the least possible permissions. That's the most common way to do it. Or to use SE Linux. Which by default reduces every user to the lowest possible permissions. But you don't see SE Linux very often either, because it breaks stuff. So, from here, we need to figure out how to get a shell how to get an unrestricted shell using one of these commands. If you don't know, how to do that, you go to this GTFOBins website. GTFOBins is a useful website, a curated list of Linux binaries that can be used to bypass local security restrictions in misconfigured systems. The less command and the vi command, and I think also SCP can be used for this too. SCP is secure copy. Yeah, you can indeed use SCP for this as well. So they're giving us literally 3 commands, all of which we can use to execute a different login shell and break us out of this RBash. Does that make sense? Is everyone following me now? I took it fast earlier. I'm trying to slow down. Is everyone following me? The way to break out of RBash is to find some way to trick the system into executing another login shell for us. We tried to do that through SSH and it didn't work. Now we're trying it through the commands that we can execute, and we see that it didn't work with less. I don't know. Less seemed to fuck up the terminal. Vi seemed to work better. So let's just do vi. So now we're in vi, like the text editor vi. Set shell equals bin sh. What was it again? If you don't know which of these commands, you can just search for them here. Look for vi, and you see you can get a shell. And it's just this shell. Can I not type? There we go. There we go. And we see that vi helpfully drops us right into a shell inside of vi. So we're running a unrestricted bin sh inside of the text editor vi. Does that make sense? Is everyone following so far? Is this a vulnerability and not vi? No, this is like one of those feature not bug arrangements. Yeah, this is one of those feature not bug situations. Yeah. Vi intends for you to execute shell commands within it, and it just so happens that you can leverage that for full-on code execution if you need to. So one problem we're going to have though is that RBash doesn't our path is being imported from RBash, and RBash only knows the user bin. It only knows this directory containing our containing the whitelisted binaries. So we need to set the path environment variable is how Windows finds the how Linux finds the correct executables. It also is true for Windows as well, but in this case, it's how Linux finds the correct executables for these commands. Like, so if you see cat not found, that's because cat is not in your path. We can echo $path, and all we see is this directory, /home/tom/user/bin. Does that make sense? Is everyone following me? So we just need to change our path environment variable to include all those other directories that our executables can be in. And so I just copied the one out of my Kali for just to be quick. So we will export. Export means to set an environment variable. Export path equals $path. We won't do $path. We'll just set it to this. So now if we echo $path, we see that we've set our path environment variable. If you don't know what environment variables are essentially they're little variables that store configuration information for your current login session, essentially. Hey, thanks for being here, Peak Poke. I promise you we'll do a little bit of Responder one way or another on Thursday, okay? I know you guys want to see Responder. Yeah, you can also execute the env command. You can see all these environment variables that are currently set. You can see there's an SSH connection environment variable that indicates where we're connected to, or information about our SSH connection. We see what our login shell is. It's still set to bin rbash because it doesn't realize we've broken out of it. It tells us where the mail directory is, what the SSH client's location is. Does that make sense? These are all environment variables, and we can see the path one right down here. Make sense? Oh, I have to set it again. Okay. Is everyone with me so far? Are we just able to change the shell environment variable? It won't make any difference. The shell environment variable it doesn't really mean anything. That's only set when you actually log in. It's not set every time you change shells. Okay, so we can now use all commands normally. One thing we should use is sudo tac-l to see if we can execute any commands as root. Okay, we may not run sudo. Let's cat etc passwd grep sh. So etc passwd contains all of the user accounts. What about after a reset? If we reset the shell, if like we logged out of SSH and logged back in, we'd be back in rbash and you'd have to escape again. Cat etc passwd, and we're gonna grep for the string sh, as in we're gonna grep for users with a login shell. Oh, there is Jerry. So I thought Jerry might not be a Linux user because we couldn't SSH in as him. It looks like his password is probably just different then. In this case, we're looking for any user with an actual login shell that ends in sh. Most login shells end in sh. So that's why we're grepping for sh. If we don't grep for sh, we'll get a bunch of extraneous information that we don't need. Like, we get all these service accounts that are not of any use to us. Usually, the only accounts that are of use to us are accounts of actual human users. In this case, we see a Jerry user, which is interesting. Let's try to sue Jerry. We have his password, so let's try and put that in. Oh, it does work. I thought his password would be different. I was just being comprehensive. But we see that we have now logged in as Jerry, and we can echo $shell. And Jerry is not restricted to rbash. Jerry is just in regular bin bash. And you can just tell that here by his login shell as well. He's probably just not allowed to SSH. That's true. We'll check out Jerry's home directory, see what's happening here. We do see a bash history. Let's check that out. Bash history is the command history of the. Why is my VM froze up there for a second? Okay. So this indicates to us that very likely Jerry has sudo permissions, and we can find out by doing sudo tac-l. And sure enough, we can execute git as root. So git is a version control software used by software developers. I use it all the time. Anyone who codes for any length of time is going to eventually run into Git. Git is a very common thing to see. But let's look at GTFO bins for Git. We don't want a shell. We want sudo. What if we can sudo as Git? If the binary is allowed to run as superuser by sudo, it does not drop the elevated privileges and may be used to access the file system, escalate, or maintain privileged access. So let's just copy this. Again, another nice thing about GTF obins is it literally just tells you what to do. It literally just gives you commands that you can just copy and paste. Looks like it's not going to let us set environment variables. So let's do this one instead. I believe we saw him running this one in the... we saw him running git help in that one, so he's probably testing it. So what we're doing here is the git help opens up less. This is the less command. Or is it more? It might be the more command, actually. Yeah, it's more, actually. So this is actually more, not less. You don't... but since it's opening up more, you could escape from that using exclamation point bin sh. And looky there. We are root. Elhu350, Lazlork, Macon ZNX, Der Jura, and Dolax. Thank you for the follows. Cthulhu Fountain to all of you. What questions do you guys have? The git hooks method is worth showing. Yeah, the git hooks are... Okay, so to explain what git hooks are, every time you can set git to execute certain shell scripts, every time you make a commit or you push to a repository or something like that, you can set git to automatically execute various scripts for you. So you would typically use this if you got like GOGS access or GitLab access as a user. You could use git hooks to execute code on the underlying server. You can get one to... That's what I said. You can get one to execute when you commit. That's what I said. Oh, no. Oh, Angel D said, in that case, we need someone else to hook it. No. You would set a git hook. You would basically tell Git, hey, whenever I commit something, I want you to run this shell script. And Git will go, you got it, boss. So we could show that off really quickly as well. Fuck it. I don't care. All right. So git hooks are merely shell scripts. In the following example, the hook associated to the pre-commit action is used. Any other hook will work. Just make sure to be able to perform the proper action to trigger it. In this case, the pre-commit is a shell script that you want to execute before you commit anything. So if you go to commit something, it's going to execute this script before it tries to commit. The existing repository can also be used, and moving into the directory works too. Okay, so first we're going to create a temp directory. We're creating a temp directory with make temp. It's going to create a directory in /temp. Does the commit have to succeed? No, because the hook is executing before the commit does. So we're creating a temp directory and putting its path into this tf variable. Now we're going to get in it. We're going to initialize a repository in that location. So if we go over here, we see that there's now a .git directory in here. This is an initialized Git repository. Okay. Now we're going to set a commit. Or we're going to, into this Git repository, we're going to set a hook. So we're putting this simple little bash script, simple little shell script, and we're putting it into .git hooks pre-commit sample. So .git/hooks is where Git keeps hooks. obviously. Do that. And now we're going to copy that and make it the sample one only it's like you said, it's a sample. It's not live. We're going to move the sample into just the pre-commit. We'll tell it what script to run when we pre-commit. And now we're going to actually do it. We're going to sudo git. Typically, Git will not allow empty commits with no changes, but you can add an option to allow empty commits. The tag M is the message. Git requires a message whenever you make a commit. That's another way to break out, by the way, because message will automatically open Vim. And look at that. We are root again. So again, we set a shell script. We told Git, hey, before I commit anything ever, I want you to run this shell script. And then we put that shell script into the Git repository like it wants, and then we simply executed an empty commit, and it executed our script and dropped us into a root shell. What happens without tag mx? Git will not allow you to commit without a message. Oh, apparently it still works. Apparently it still works. You don't even need the tag mx at the end. You don't even need that. Git will not. It looks like it doesn't even make it to the actual committing part. But it will not allow you to. It will not allow you to make a commit without a message. You have to put a message. Any other questions, chat? And we'll get the proof.txt from roots directory. Why hasn't your cat appeared again? She's probably napping somewhere. This is usually her nap time. All right. Let's do another giveaway. We have another giveaway. All righty. Where is Nightbot? There we go. Okay, let's clear all these out. All right. Did she come in? Sweet pea. Oh, you're talking about the, we're doing a giveaway. We're doing one. I'm trying to think of a, good keyword. Yeah, right deacle. We'll do right. We'll put that in. Don't type it yet. I have to tell. There you go. Right deacle, all lowercase. You only have to type it once. Only need to type it once in order to be entered into the giveaway. I'll give you guys a minute or so. What's the giveaway? We're giving away a 1-month Try Hack Me subscription voucher. Courtesy of Oreo Bite. Thank you so much, Oreo Bite, for your continued support of the stream. I always like it when people give me stuff to give away to you guys. SolarWinds 123, too late. It is too late, yes. Right deacle is the current keyword. Again, I ask you nicely, if you are already subscribed to Try Hack Me, I try to make these go to people who need them or who don't already have Try Hack Me subscriptions or who wouldn't otherwise. So try to let the prizes go to somebody who can use them optimally. That would be best. I'll give you guys another 10 seconds or so. I'll take a drink. Right, Diackle. Try Hack Me's fantastic. Didn't been subscribed for 2 months and it's been so good. I bet you've learned a ton in that small amount of time. Eddie-ish Metal. Or Medi. Eddie Schmeddy, excuse me. Eddie Schmeddy. Welcome to the chat, by the way. Good to see you. All right. Let's roll it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Uber King Kong. Uber King Kong, where are you? Uber King Kong, congratulations. I'll send you the Enjoy. Awesome. Any last questions, chat? Let's look for someone to raid. We've had a good stream today. We talked a lot about real life red teaming stories. Ooh, Taggart's streaming. He's doing Attack on Tuesday. We're obviously going to be raiding Taggart. We'll obviously raid Taggart. Any last questions, chat? We'll be back on Thursday. I know there were many requests for a responder box. We'll do either Raw or Raw 2. I'll need to look up which one of them had responder in it. But we'll do one of those Active Directory machines on Try Hack Me. And make sure it involves responder so you can see responder in operation. You won't get the full effect of responder, but you will be able to see its basic operation. Riley Reed's ports were heavily used today, indeed. I hope you guys enjoyed the real-life pen testing, story. Again, that is still an ongoing assessment, so maybe I'll find more interesting stuff in their network, and I'll make sure to relay it to you guys, because I know you guys love to hear about it. Yeah, let's go ahead and raid Taggart. Bring him glad tidings of Dread Cthulhu for me. Thank you guys so much for being here. It's the light of my life to do this stuff for you guys. It really is my favorite thing in the world right now. Yeah, we got more coming on Thursday. I'm still stuck. I'm still, like, bogged down by these night assessments. These night assessments are fucking killing me. So my content creation has really kind of suffered. I'm working on some more stuff for the Patreon and for the YouTube, but it's hard to get that stuff done when I'm working nights. My circadian rhythm is all fucked up. So as soon as I can, I'll be rolling out more content. Again, I do have a full-time job, so I'm not a full-time content creator, so I'm doing my absolute best here. But yeah, we're doing our best. Go to bed tonight knowing a little bit more than you did yesterday. I'll see you guys again when the stars are right. Have a good night, day, or whatever time it is wherever you are. Get vaccinated. Love you guys.